Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing a review of a gangster film from Hong Kong. This is spoken in the Cantonese and Mandarin language, English subtitles, released in the year 2005, directed by Johnny Tu, and this film is called Election. And the story to Election is as follows. Elections are always tense, but none more than for the leadership of Hong Kong's largest and oldest criminal triad. The level-headed Locke and the megalomaniac Big D vie for the chairmanship of 50,000-strong Woshing triad. Big D will do whatever it takes to win, but Locke defeats him when the respected Uncle Tang intervenes. Enraged, Big D prevents the ceremonial baton from being transferred to his nemesis, as the symbol of power signals the ultimate transferal of authority. When the baton disappears into the mainland, the dizzying fury of the Triad Society is unleashed and the real power struggle begins, with some ruthless action marking the wrestling of the baton. So the movie is centered inside the Woshing Triad, which is like the Chinese mafia. You've got Big D and Locke, who are people that are vying for the chairmanship. Now, with this triad, the leader has called it time and he's stepping down. So he has to turn and choose who is going to be the person who's going to step up. So Locke and Big D are the perfect candidates to lead the 50,000 strong Woshing triad. So in order to do this, they have a vote, the election. And the elders, which are considered the uncles, have to choose which one they're going to do, and a lot of people are for Big D and a lot of people are for Locke, so there's a big separation in opinion. Locke ends up getting the election win, and this makes Big D really angry, and he doesn't want to concede defeat, and he believes that as long as Locke doesn't get the ceremonial baton, he won't assume total power. So it's one thing to get elected, but you're not in total power until you get the baton. So Big D sees this as his opportunity to intercept the baton, to kill anybody who's got it in order to take it for himself and assume power. So this starts a massive power struggle that results in a lot of bloodshed, and the criminal family have a lot of infighting. So there's a lot of betrayals, there's a lot of murders, and who survives and who ends up taking the chairmanship at the end, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Election. This movie comes with its positives. Unfortunately, there are a lot more negatives than there are positives. Now, a lot of people like this film, so I can appreciate that, but for me, I just didn't get into it, and I feel that this has the same problem that a lot of other gangster films have, and that is the characters are despicable human beings. They do awful things, and then you're expected to take interest in what they're doing in their day-to-day lives. And because, as I said, there's no redeemable qualities in any of these characters, they're just as bad as each other. And you feel to yourself, why do I care what happens to these guys? They deserve to be in jail. They don't deserve what they're getting. So whoever wins this power struggle, it doesn't matter, because they're both as bad as each other, and so you're not really supporting anyone. So when the power struggle happens, you're just watching it to see how it crumbles around them. You don't really get a connection with any character, and the only connections you get are characters outside this criminal triad. So the fact that this power struggle is happening between people who are just as bad as each other, you just don't really care. And I thought that there was not enough action for a neutral sort of fan. Now, what I mean by neutral fan is that you don't really take any side. You don't like Big D, you don't like Locke, so therefore there is too much drama in it, because you want to see them dispatch each other. You want to see them kill each other in the worst ways possible, and when that's not happening, it becomes a little bit boring. And that to me was the unfortunate part, because it bills itself as a thriller, but it's more of a characterization inside a triad, which is a very interesting idea, because the triad is a very different sort of organization as opposed to the Italian mafia in New York. Now this likens itself to Godfather, but I think it tries to be a little bit too much like The Godfather, but I like this in the way that the elections happen, this ceremonial baton, and it's something I didn't know about before. So if you're a fan of the gangster type of movies and you want something from a different part of the world, Election will hit you with a very interesting story. Unfortunately, it just doesn't help it by the fact that it doesn't have likable characters. So as I said, when the action's not happening, it becomes a little bit tedious, because you just don't care about these people. As I said, you want to see them in jail. So if you want to see them in jail, you don't care about them as human beings, because the bad things they're actually doing are despicable. So you don't like anyone, and therefore it just feels as though you're just waiting for things to happen. Instead of actually being captivated by what's happening on the screen, you're just waiting for them to die. And that to me is the problem, because it wants to be a drama, it wants to be a different kind of gangster film, but it doesn't work. Now I will say, cinematography, the acting was very, very good, but as I said, it's very black and white. It's kind of telling you that everybody in the mafia is a really bad guy. No matter how much money they have, no matter how nice they are on the outside, everybody is going to betray each other. So there's no redeemable likable quality in this world, which I can understand because obviously you have to be a specific type of person to be in the Triad or any other gangster organisation, but it would have been better if you just had some likable qualities, just to mix a little bit of grey in these characters to make them real and to make them somewhat relatable. And that to me was non-existent, therefore it became a little bit boring. Now, I also didn't like the fact that it had multiple characters. Now, this movie, it has too many characters. At one stage, you're kind of thinking to yourself, who's this guy, who's this guy, who's this guy? There's so many names that are put out to you that instead of enjoying the film and watching what is happening, you're constantly trying to work it out. And so that's going to warrant another viewing, so that's not necessarily a bad thing, but for me, I was a little bit confused because there's way too many characters. I thought they could have cut half the characters out and just focused on a core amount of characters. There's Big D, Locke, and a few others that I thought were interesting enough, but then it's polluted by unnecessary characters that get in the way of the continuity. And you're constantly confused and you think to yourself, this is a lot to take on, and I'm not enjoying the film for what it is, and I'm just trying to work it out. So I didn't like that aspect of it as well. I will say that there is shocking violence. The violence hits you very, very hard, so you don't know when to expect it, so I like that aspect. But there is a lot borrowed from mafia movies like The Godfather. So it's basically the same sort of formula. You've got this crime family, you've got them warring against each other, you've got infighting, you've got betrayals, and so it's basically, that's why I don't like gangster films, because they're not totally different from each other. There are exceptions, but majority of them are not entirely different. So this one, it actually felt like an Asian version of The Godfather. As I said, it is a very interesting look into the triads, but it has that same formula, and that's probably why I didn't like it as much as, I didn't have huge expectations, but it wasn't as good because I thought it does get stuck a lot. It tries to be too dramatic for its own good. I actually thought it would have been a lot better having the really interesting triad sort of backstory, but having more of an action thriller. I thought that would have been much better because you don't care about the characters, so they're basically cannon fodder. And that's excellent for an action film, but for a drama movie, it does hurt it a lot. So in the end, what you get is a movie that does have its qualities, but unfortunately, the negatives work against it, and it prevents it from being a very good movie. So overall, for Election, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Wasn't really a fan of that, but I'll still say, especially if you're a gangster film fan, go and see it. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.